Report, the unconstitutional special counsel Jack Smith and his team are expected to resign before President-elect Trump takes office in January. And you're starting to see the sham political lawsuits against the president start to crumble. For discussion, let's bring in former U.S. Navy JAG officer, constitutional attorney, and best-selling author Don Brown. Don, thank you so much for joining us.
Ladies, I'm honored to be here. It's a great week, and good to see you both.
Oh, great to see you. So tell us, what's your reaction to Jack Smith resigning?
You know, it's interesting. I had an article published in The Federalist yesterday on this, and Jack Smith resigning is, first off, he doesn't want to give Trump the opportunity to fire him. But there's another motive here. And, you know, he had lost there in Palm Beach on a constitutional challenge. You know, his appointment violated the Appointments Clause of the Constitution. He appealed that to the 11th Circuit, hoping to eventually get it to the Supreme Court. And I think he doesn't want to give the 11th Circuit the opportunity to come in and affirm what Judge Cannon has said, that his appointment was illegitimate. That will be a federal appeal circuit. So he's trying to get out while the getting's good, ladies. And this goes even farther than Jack Smith, because Robert Mueller's got a problem too. Robert Mueller also was not appointed legitimately. There was no special counsel statute in effect. You've got to have it under the Appointments Clause of the Constitution. It wasn't in effect. Justice Thomas gave the signal to Judge Cannon, and she dismissed the case. And by the way, every prosecution under Mueller's Russia hoax investigation should be vacated, from Roger Stone to General Flynn to Papadopoulos to Manafort. Every one of those are illegitimate prosecutions because they were brought by an illegitimate prosecutor. So Jack Smith is pulling the ripcord before the 11th Circuit can validate Judge Cannon's correct decision that his appointment was illegal and unconstitutional. But it's good to see all these things crumbling, and every day becomes a little bit brighter and brighter, and the coffee smells better and better every morning as we move toward January 20th.
Yeah, and I love seeing Matt Gaetz nominated for the AG too, Don. But I want to talk about the book that you recently published. It's a #1 on Amazon bestseller, so congratulations to you, Don. It's titled Kangaroo Court: How Dirty Prosecutors and Sleazy Lawyers Destroy Political Opponents, Attack Free Speech, and Subvert the Constitution. So tell us about your book, and I know that it's dedicated to our very own Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. So tell us about your new book that was just released.
Well, Kangaroo Court, and thank you for the opportunity to chat a bit on it, is a study of the way the Democrats have used political prosecutions really over the last 30 years, with increasing frequency, all the way up to and including the Trump prosecutions. And I look at the Trump prosecution in the last third of the book, but I want everybody to know that this has become a common tactic of the Democrats to prosecute their political opponents, not just politicians, but regular Americans like Douglas Mackey, the cartoonist down there in the Palm Beach area, who did an anti-Hillary Clinton in 2016, got prosecuted in 2021 when clearly he was protected by the First Amendment. Or we talk about, you know, pro-life fathers, Paul Vaughn from Tennessee and Mark Howe from Philadelphia, who were prosecuted by the Biden DOJ in retaliation for SCOTUS reversing Roe versus Wade. So, but they prosecuted Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, for vetoing a bill. They prosecuted Ted Stevens from Alaska, and that case was thrown out for prosecutorial misconduct. They have prosecuted the governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, reversed 8-0 by the Supreme Court, the very same Jack Smith. They have used these tactics over and over. So we look at about 25 cases they brought leading up to the Trump case, the Trump cases, I should say. And I made the argument that these guys like Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, and Alvin Bragg, they ought to be prosecuted. Now, it's hard to prosecute them right now because we don't have the teeth to do it. I saw Mike Davis the other day was going after Letitia James, and I applaud Mike Davis's remarks there. But he's saying prosecute him for conspiracy against rights. There is a crime for that, but it takes 2 more folks. We need rogue prosecutor law so that Congress can pass a law that if any prosecutor brings a case primarily for political purposes, which is a direct assault against the United States Constitution and against the justice system, that prosecutor, in retrospect, ought to be subject to prosecution himself. So the book makes that argument at the close. I hope everybody will buy it and pass out 10 copies. We need to get the story out of what the Democrats have done, and I hope it does some good.
Yeah, Don, I'm certainly excited to read your book. And I don't know about you, but I haven't stopped smiling since November 5th, since Trump got elected. And seeing all of these Republican rock stars that he has been assembling as his, dream team administration has been exciting as well. So do you think that the FBI and Justice Department will be held accountable under this incoming Trump administration?
I sure think that Matt Gaetz is going to come in with a pitchfork
Okay.
He winds up becoming attorney general and just cleaned that bunch of scum-smelling political prosecutors and deep state bureaucrats out of the DOJ. I think the director of the FBI to go ahead and resign also, because he's going to get fired so fast it'll make your head spin. And I think that the president is now picking his people who share his America First philosophy. He isn't making the same mistakes that he made on personnel selection the first time because he just didn't know. Now he knows. He's been through the fire. And ironically, he'll be leaving office right about now if they hadn't stole the last election. But they stole the last election. He's coming back in with far greater mandate he's ever had before. It's just an exciting time. We got to keep him in prayer between now and the nomination and the inauguration and on beyond that. But I think there is going to be a huge house cleaning, and in the Department of Defense too. Tara and I have a friend named Pete Hedgeseth that is going to be our next Secretary of Defense, and I'm just beaming from ear to ear. You can say goodbye to welcome to the military, and if you're a Obama or a Obama Admiral General or a Biden Admiral General, you may as well resign now because you're going to get fired. We're going to bring warriors back.
Yeah, it was a great selection to see Pete in there. Don, what would you recommend on really kind of reforming the DOJ? I guess personally, I'd like to see dismantling of the FBI and turn it over to the states, joint terrorism task forces, raise up the U.S. Marshals. Do you think that there's a way that you could really reform a lot of these intelligence agencies like the CIA, FBI, and then really reform the DOJ? What would you do?
Well, with DOJ, you've got to, first of all, go in and fire the career prosecutors. And I pointed out this in my book. Even back in 2020, Bill Barr, with all the flaws he had, went to Hillsdale College on Constitution Day and pointed out that we've got a problem with corrupt career prosecutors who are political prosecutors in the DOJ. We've got to identify them and we've got to fire them. And when you get just beyond the DOJ, we've got to have civil service reform so that we can fire bureaucrats. Because, see, the president can fire people right at the top, but 95% of these 3 million bureaucrats can't be touched. The Republican Congress must move immediately to weaken these civil service laws so we can go in and clean house. And that's got to happen from a broad standpoint.
Yes, thanks, Don. But before we go, where can people find your book and where can they buy it?
Well, it's right here, but go to Amazon.com, and both the Kindle copy and the regular copy are doing very, very well right now. Please buy Canada Court, buy 10 copies and pass them out to your friends. We got to get the story out.
Thanks, Don. Well, welcome. We'll look forward to having you back. Well, coming up, RAV's own Jack Posobiec joins us to talk President-elect Trump and his new picks. Stand by.